Okay, what we're looking at here is how to give a number as a product of prime factors. Now, these words, we might know what they mean by themselves, but how they all tie together, we need to take a look. So prime factorization. What this is taking a number, let's take a small number like 12, and writing it like this. 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12. What we've done is written 12 as a product, which is where you times things, product of prime factors. So these are the prime numbers which you have to multiply to make 12. And there's a special method for doing this. If we stick with 12, then we break it down like this. We do a kind of tree where every time we break our number into two other numbers which multiply to make it. For example, 12 is 2 times 6. 2 is prime. We can't do anything with 2. We can't break 2 down any further because if we tried to, we would have to keep going forever. You know, we could always break that 2 down into 2 and 1. So we don't break it down any further. If it's prime, we stop and circle it. 6 we can break down. 6 is 3 times 2. 3 is prime, can't go any further, so we stop there. And 2 is prime, can't go any further, stop there. When you've broken it down into these prime numbers, you say that 12 equals those prime numbers multiplied together, which is what we were looking for. Let's take a bigger number just to have a look at how it can work. Let's take 36. Now, what numbers multiply to make 36? 36 is 6 times 6, actually. So we can break it down like this. And we already know that 6 breaks down into 3 and 2, which means we can break this 6 into 3 and 2 as well. And because those are all prime, stop and circle them, which means 36 is, we've got a couple of 3's, 3 times 3, times 2 times 2. Now, we could write this in a different way. We could write 3 times 3 as 3 squared, and we could write the 2 times 2 as 2 squared. And writing it this way is called something special. This is writing it in index form. So let's see what a question might look like. A question might say, let's pick a new number, 75. Give 75 as a product of prime factors. And now just to make things a little trickier, let's add this extra bit. Give your answer in index form. In index form. So we'll do our tree thing. We'll start with 75. And what numbers go into 75? Well, it ends in a 5, so 5s go into it. But how many times? Well, 10 5s would be 50. And we've got 25 on top of that. So 15 5s go into 75. 5 is prime, so we're going to stop there and circle it. And what goes into 15? 3 times 5 gives you 15. 3 is prime and 5 is prime. So I think 75 is those circled numbers multiplied together. That's 5 times 5 times 3. And like we were just saying, we can write that 5 times 5 as 5 squared times 3. Now, because of this part of the question, give your answer in index form, we have to write that 5 times 5 as 5 squared, otherwise we'll lose a mark. If that wasn't in there, if it didn't say give your answer in index form, it would be absolutely fine to leave your answer like this. But it says give your answer in index form, so we have to write it like that. Right, what I'm going to do is put a couple of questions up there, and if you would like, you can pause the video and have a go at those yourself, because in a couple of seconds I'm going to talk through the answers, and if you would like, you can pause it here and have a go. All right, well, let's have a talk through the answers then. So 40 as a product of prime factors. We'll do the tree. 4 times 10 was the first thing that I saw that multiplied to make 40. But if you'd have picked something else, that would be absolutely fine. If you'd have done 8 and 5, you'd end up with the same answer, as long as you did the steps right. So 4 we can break down further into 2 and 2, and those are prime, so I'm going to stop there and circle them. 10 breaks down into 5 and 2. Again, those are both prime, so I'll stop and circle them. And that's it. So 40 is those numbers multiplied together. 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Now this question did not say give your answer in index form, so I don't have to write that. as 2 cubed times 5. I don't have to, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. The next one's a bit bigger, and I might actually run out of space here, but let's see. Express 720 as a product of prime factors, give your answer in index form. So 720 breaks down. The first pair of numbers that I saw was 10 times 72. 10 breaks down into 5 and 2, and those are prime, so I'm going to stop there. 72, well, it's even, so let's split it into 2 and 36. 36 is 6 times 6, and each of those is 3 and 2, which I can finally circle. Blimey, which means 720 is, if I just go from left to right, we've got 5 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 2, that's a 2 there, times 3 times 2. And if I condense that down, if I look for all the numbers that I've got more than one of, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 2's, which are all multiplied together, which means that's 2 to the power of 4. I'm multiplying that by 3, but I've got 2 3's, so that's 3 squared, and I'm multiplying that by 5. So 720 as a product of prime factors in index form is 2 to the power of 4 times 3 squared times 5. And remember, that's what 720 is. If I put this in my calculator, I would get 720. Just the same as how with the 75 up here. If I did 5 times 5 times 3, I will get 75. So that's a little way that you can check your answer to make sure it makes sense. In fact, let's just do that for 40 and then that'll be it. So let's just check our answer for 40 as a product of prime factors. Let's do 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 5 is 40. So that's a nice way of checking your answer. Hope that helped.